In continuing with the do's and don'ts of leasing a truck, I want to touch base on the things that you should be looking for or not looking for in your lease contract. And hopefully by now that you've already gotten your LLC set up and you've kind of looked around and you found a place a respectable place to lease a truck from. Now we want to take a look at that contract. And you need to try to get a copy of that contract, and you need to have an attorney look over it. This isn't going to cost you but a couple of $100 at the most. If you live in a small town or something like that, you probably get away with $100. Any company that will not allow you to read over the contract before even coming to orientation or signing it is a huge red flag. That's an immediate no. Just walk away from it. Don't bother with it. And here's where there's a huge difference of opinion. I'm a person that does not like the idea of leasing a truck from the same company that I'm going to lease on with. That's just something I can't do. That gives them too much control over your money. If I'm going to fail, I want to fail because it's something I did, not something that someone 500 miles away made a decision for me to do. Now, another area that's a big dispute among drivers, owner-operators, is whether you want to lease onto a company with a fixed amount of revenue per mile and a fuel surcharge, or do you want to pull from a board? Well, I'm of the opinion that if you're running for a fixed rate per mile, especially a low rate like some of these companies have, some of them have $1.10, $1 a mile plus fuel surcharge, you're back to company driver status. You're chasing miles again. And that's not why most of us do this. We do this because we enjoy the freedom of it. I want to be able to make enough money this week that if I want to take off next week, I can do it. Most people nowadays choose to do a percentage because it just makes sense. But you have to read these contracts closely, because just because one person gets 65% and another person gets 80% doesn't mean the guy making 65% is making less than the guy that makes 80%. You need to read over the contract and see what cost you're responsible for. Another thing to be aware of are contracts that lock you into a specific time frame. Most of these come from companies where you lease the truck from them and you lease the truck on with them. They will lock you in so that you can't move. If a company won't allow you to move a truck, that means they don't care whether you fail or not, because if things go badly for you, you need to be able to move that truck. That needs to be one of the deciding factors as to whether you sign a lease or not. Just getting a truck is not enough. You've got to be able to make that truck productive, and if that means moving it somewhere else, that's what you've got to be able to do. So beware of those that lock you in to a specific company. And while some people may take away from this that I'm promoting a model like Landstar, well, I am promoting a model like Landstar. There are other companies out here that run and operate the same way that Landstar does. There is a huge number of companies out here that will allow you to lease onto them for a small percentage, and you can pull from the spot market. You don't have to go any place in particular. They don't have to have 1,000 trucks or 10,000 trucks. They might only have 4 or 5. You need to take a look at those companies too and talk with them. Now, some may require you to have your own trailer. I would say that most would, especially if they're 4 or 5 truck operations. So look at that closely. And also be aware you need to read that contract also, because not every company is the same, and not every owner operator that owns his own authority is, honest 100% of the time. So the takeaway from all of this is you need to read that contract not once but twice. You need to understand it, and you need to ask questions. And you need to be able to move that truck if things go bad at the company you're leased onto. If you're getting your own authority, well, hey, you're on your own there. If you go sour that way, it's on you. It's on nobody else. But read any contract that you get to lease a truck, and then any contract you get to lease a truck on with someone, read those contracts carefully. Because if you let someone else control your money in any form or fashion, you're setting yourself up to fail. You want total and complete control of your truck.